Subfields of psychology. The first field is biopsychology. Now, if you hear the term, things which pop out in your mind is biology and psychology. So yeah, it is just a relation between biology and psychology. The brain is the seat of all complex behavior. This is something which you have to remember, and I don't think so you have to remember. You already know it, that brain is the seat of all complex behavior. This branch deals with the biological basis of behavior. The relationship between biology and behavior is quite obvious. Now, what is this relation between biology and psychology? Genetics, which is a branch in biology, it is a very important branch by the perspective of psychology. Over the years, the scientists in the field of genetics, have conducted researches to bring out the role of heredity in behavior. And in recent years, it is discovered that the hormones secreted by endocrine gland play a very important role in behavior. So these chemical processes, they play a very important role in behavior, and that is the reason why biology and psychology are related to each other. So that is why there is a special field related to it, which research is about the relation between biology and psychology, which is biopsychology. The next is cognitive psychology. By the name, you can understand that this field studies about cognitive processes such as memory, thinking, learning, and that is what this field is. If you want to see what exactly those cognitive processes are, you can zoom and see this diagram. There are these kind of things which are written. These are the cognitive processes such as perception, human intelligence, memory, and all, language. Comparative psychology. Now, this field was earlier called animal psychology, but later now it is called comparative psychology. But why was it called animal psychology? It is because it compares the behavior of different species, especially animals, and by comparing those behavior, the conclusion, now they use that to apply to human behavior to solve problems. That is what comparative psychology is. Now the example, you can see the first image, which is of the queen bee, and the second image is of the worker bee. Now the example states that the these field studies about how the queen bee gets its work done from worker bees, and you can take the meaning out from it as leadership. Cultural psychology, the people in this field compare the behavior of people of different culture across nations. And if you want to know exactly what this definition and what does this mean, it is this branch studies the way in which culture, subculture, ethnic group membership affect behavior. We are all humans. If you go into a different country, you will find the behavior of those people in that country different because their culture is different. And the psychologists do cultural research and compare behavior of people of different cultures across nation. That is what cultural psychology is. Gender psychology. And if I were to summarize what this is, it is that this field studies the on uh, roles and influences of gender in a human life, of how the gender influences the human behavior, and it just studies about the role of gender throughout life. The third point. Now, the exact definition is the field studies the roles and influences of gender on basis of researches done. It tries to identify the acquisition of gender identity and role of gender throughout life. Learning psychology. Now, this studies how and why learning occurs. In this field, psychologists develop theories of learning and apply them to solve various human problems. In this field, psychologists, they develop theories related to learning and then apply them to human behavior to solve various human problems. It is that easy. Consumer psychology. By hearing the name, marketing, advertising, and these things may come in your mind, and that is the example in the first point. The field is involved in the research of marketing, advertising, packaging, etc. It is an offshoot of social psychology. Counseling psychology. This is a very famous field. Many of you know about it. There are many types of counselors. I just wrote here three, which is family counselor, marriage counselor, school counselor, etc. Now, what exactly a counseling psychologist does it helps people with emotional, interpersonal relationship problems, career choice, planning, etc. There are a lot of things because there are a lot of fields in this uh, counseling psychology. Now let's talk about as an example school counselor, because you might be familiar with it. You might met one in your school time, or if you have not met it, it is just like someone who helps students to plan their study routine, and the students can share that problem with that counselor, that hey, how can they increase their attention span, what are the problems they are facing while studying, and they can't go, or what are the problems that make them not concentrate on the study, and they will help them through that to get out from that problems and help them to manage their routine and all. So in If you summarize it, this is just the field which helps people with emotional, interpersonal relationships, such as career choice. Now, many people who do overthink, and they think that they get very confused when they think about career. So they can meet a career counselor, and this counselor will help them to uh, choose their career. Medical psychology. This field deals with the medical things such as recover from emotional impact of illness, taking medicine, etc. Now, what is this field exactly does is that many patients, when they get ill, they have trauma, they get sad, they get emotional. So to get out from that trauma, to get out from the emotional state, the people in this field help those people, the psychologists in this field help those patients to get out from that emotional impact of that illness. And also the job of these psychologists overlap with part of health psychology. Military psychology. This is an interesting field. This field deals with applying psychological theories to predict the behavior of armed forces within the country and outside the country. Now the second point, if I have to explain the second point, it is they apply psychological tools so to help armed forces thrive better in stressful conditions. There's not much explaining to it. You can read it by yourself and you can understand it. This discipline also deals with applying psychological theories to deal with enemy forces. Yes, they apply psychological theories to deal with enemy forces. This discipline also tells about work-life balance. Yes, when work of a soldier is very responsive, it's a very responsibility kind of thing. So there is a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. So how will they manage their work-life balance? So this discipline also talks about work-life balance. Environmental psychology. There's not much to this. This discipline aims at solving environmental issues to enhance better living conditions for human and their well-being. What this exactly does, it is that it studies the interaction between human and environment, not with behavior. It's human and environment. It's wrong. Human and environment. You can correct it. Human and environment. If you want to take a screenshot of all these slides, you can. I will give you some time. And I guess that is it for this video. In the next video, I guess few of I guess like 10 or 12 I guess are remaining. I guess 10, more than 10 I guess are remaining fields which we will talk about in the next video. Those are a little bit complex fields, they are a little bit longer, but there's no problem in that. We will talk about it in the next video. In this video we talked about all the fields which are not that big and which are easy to understand. In the next video we are going to talk about the fields which are a little bit lengthy and a little bit complex. I guess that is it for this video. If you want to leave a like, you can leave a like. Subfields of psychology. In the last video we talked about few subfields of psychology because there are a lot, and in this video we will be continuing talk about subfields of psychology. Experimental psychology. This field investigates all aspects of psychological processes such as perception, learning, and motivation. The major research method used in this field deals with controlled experiments. It is quite logical because this field, by listening to the term experimental psychology, the thing pops up in your mind is something related to experiment. And the major research method which is used in this field, it is controlled experiments. Morgan et al. 1996 mentioned that experimental method is used by psychologists as well. So yes, that is the reason why there is a field called experimental psychology, because psychologists use experimental method. For example, social psychologists, they conduct experiments to see influence of various group pressures on the person's behavior. Now, if you have watched the last video, we talked about cultural psychology in that video, a special subfield. In that, we saw how various group pressures, ethnic group memberships, and culture affect or influence a person's behavior. And in the same way, social psychologists, they conduct experiments to see the influence of various group pressures on a person's behavior. This field is not different but is related to other subfields. As I gave you the example of social psychology, this field is not different. Experimental psychology is not different. It is actually related to other fields. One of its example is social psychology, which we just saw how it is related to social psychology. What exactly experimental psychology studies? Experimental psychology study fundamental processes of learning, memory, thinking, sensation, and perception, motivation, emotion, and physiological or biological basis of behavior under certain circumstances. Now, physiological psychology. Physiological psychologists investigate role of biochemical changes within our nervous systems and bodies in everything we do, feel, sense, think. What exactly physiological psychologists do is that they investigate the biochemical changes or hormones or whatever those biochemical changes which happen in our nervous systems or bodies when we do something, such as we feel something, sense something, or think something. Any of the biochemical changes which happen within our nervous systems and bodies, physiological psychologists investigates that. Mostly they use experimental method, as I told you. Experimental psychology is related to other subfields as well. So here as well they use experimental method and do basic research on brain, nervous system and other physical origins of behavior. Physiological psychology is not only a part of psychology, but it is a part of a broader field, neurobiology. So yeah, physical psychology is a part of psychology as well, and it is a part of a big field or a broader field called as neurobiology. You might have heard about it. Personality psychology. Field of personality psychology studies personality traits and dynamics. As when you hear the statement or hear the term personality psychology, what pops up in your mind is this is something which studies about personality traits. So yes, this field studies about personality traits and dynamics. The psychologists develop theories of personality and tests for assessing personality traits. They also identify the causes of problems related to personality development. Yes, the psychologists in this field identify the causes of problems related to personality development and try to solve them. Sensation and perception psychology. The field studies about the sense organs and processes of perception. Psychologists working in this field help to investigate the mechanism of sensation and develop theories about how perception or misperception illusion works. So, what is this field exactly? If I were to summarize, this field is very easy to understand as psychologists which work in this field. They help to investigate the mechanism, they actually investigate the mechanism of sensation and they develop theories about how perception or misperception illusion it occurs. So they just investigate the mechanism of sensation and they develop theories to see how perception and these things occur. Educational psychology. The discipline deals with classroom dynamics, teaching styles, and learning. It develops educational tests and evaluate educational programs. This investigates all aspects. Now, now the important part. This investigates all aspects of educational processes. Now, what exactly they do? What exactly they do in educational psychology? This branch deals with the broader problem of increasing efficiency of learning in school. So the people in this field, they try to increase the efficiency of students who are learning in school by applying psychological knowledge about learning and motivation to the curriculum. So the curriculum they add some of the psychological knowledge about learning and motivation in the curriculum to increase the efficiency of learning in school. Another special subfield called school psychology may be included in educational psychology. Yes, there is a special subfield called school psychology, which can be included in educational psychology. Ergonomics. This is something interesting. It is a field which interrelates engineering technologies to human behavior. It deals with designing and managing workplace environment, products, or systems. Now, what exactly they do is that this is a field, for example, what is this? The first point, if you see, it is a field which interrelates engineering technologies to human behavior. It deals with designing and managing workplace environment, production systems. Now, why do they design and manage workplace environment? They do that to increase the efficiency of employees, to so that they can so that if they have a good workplace environment, products or systems, they will work more efficiently and the job will be done quickly and more efficiently in less time and they will be more productive. Forensic psychology. You might have heard about this field. It is a field which is a blend or combination of psychology and law. It involves psychological assessment of individuals. Now, what kind of individuals? In some of the many of the individuals which are related to an illegal or a criminal activity. Forensic psychologists are in various settings like a school doing threat assessments, the prison, or the courtroom serving as an expert witness. They are professionally skilled. What are they professionally skilled in? They are professionally skilled in behavior analysis, evolution, assessment, and treatment. But they should also have training of clinical psychology. Though they get the training of law and criminal psychology, but they should also be trained in clinical psychology as well. and they should be professionally skilled in behavior analysis, evolution, assessment, and treatment. And what they need else is that they should have a experience or have a little bit of their hands or experience in clinical assessment, interviewing, report writing, and strong verbal communication skills. And I guess that is it for this video. If you want to take the screenshot of all these slides, I will give you some time. Now still there are three fields remaining. Now the this topic is a little bit bigger. As I told you, it took us maybe three videos, because last video, this video, and the next video which will be coming, which will be which will be just in that video we'll be talking about only three fields which are actually a little bit bigger. And the three fields will be social psychology, clinical psychology, and industrial or organizational psychology. You might have heard about these fields. These fields are very famous fields, and they're a little bit complex and a little bit bigger. So that is why there will be a special video for them. And in the next video, we'll be completing this whole topic of subfields of psychology. And after that video, we'll be having a complete idea of many of the subfields of psychology. Until then, if you want to leave a like, you can leave a like. In this video, I'll be talking about subfields of psychology. We'll be continuing the topic of subfields of psychology. Only three are remaining. Now you might be wondering that why I didn't discuss these three in the last video and just complete the topic there, and I'm making the special video for them. It is because these three topics are a little bit different. They're a little bit larger than the topics we have discussed previously. So that is the reason why I mentioned them in a special video. And these are three topics you might have heard of, because these are kind of famous topics like counseling psychology. Now first is social psychology. We will understand these all topics point wise. The first point is the field of social psychology helps investigating social behavior. So as always, the field of social psychology helps investigating social behavior. Now when you hear the term social psychology, what comes into your mind? Sociologists and psychologists? Yes, sociologists and social psychologists together, they developed this field. Now the second point, it emphasizes on all aspects of social behavior, such as how we think about and interact with others, how we influence and are influenced by others. For example, social psychologists study our perception towards others and how this perception affect our behavior towards them. What they exactly study is that they study social behavior, such as how we think about someone, how we interact with someone, how we influence someone, or how we are influenced by someone. For example, people getting influenced by media or maybe propaganda or anything like that. So how, or anything, getting influenced by anything, or maybe they are influencing someone, how that happens. For example, social psychology, they study our perception towards others and how this perception affect our behaviors towards them. For example, we all have a kind of perception, or for example, you have a perception towards a particular person. Now how that perception of yours affect your behavior towards that particular person you have perception towards. Now, if in simple words, if I were to explain, you have perception towards a particular person and how that perception affects your behavior, how you behave with that person. This field has developed by joint contribution of sociologists and psychologists, as I already told you. The social psychologists who work on applied side of this field have developed and standardized techniques to measure opinion and behavior of an individual in a societal context. Now the social psychologists, in this field, the social psychologists, they work on applied side of this field, and they develop few techniques which measure opinion and behavior of a person by a society, in a societal context. Their survey research ponders upon important topics such as political, consumer, and topics related to important social issues, which provide important information to politicians, business executives, and community leaders who benefit from these while making decisions. Now, what they exactly do is that they do a survey research upon internet upon important social topics such as political, consumer, and any topic which is important to social issues. For example, they do survey research related to consumers. So they will provide this information to business executives, and then they will use that information to make some changes in their business so that more consumers will come, more customers will come to buy their products. Whereas if they do survey research on political things, they will give this information to a politician, and then he will make changes in his decisions which will benefit that politician. Now, clinical psychology. Now, this is a famous field. You might have heard about clinical psychology. What it reminds you of? It reminds you of something related to scientific, clinical, means hospital. So you're right. The first point is the field emphasizes on diagnosis, causes, and treatment of severe psychological disorders and emotional troubles. So this field focuses on diagnosis, causes, and treatment of severe psychological disorders and emotional troubles. Confusion occur between clinical psychology and psychiatry. Now, many people are confused between clinical psychologists and psychiatrists. Uh, the similarity between them is that they both offer psychotherapy, but they are different. Many people are confused that they are same, and they are confused between clinical psychologist and psychiatrist. So in the next point, we'll be discussing how they are different. They belong to two different. The third point is they belong to two different groups of and their educational background and ways of diagnosis and treatment differs. Now, what they exactly differ in is that they have different groups and I mean their educational background is different and the ways of diagnosis and treatment also differs. So they have a different educational background and the way they treat people is also different. A psychiatrist after completing medical studies such as MBBS does MD in psychiatry and specialize the treatment of mental disorders, whereas what clinical psychologist does is that it does masters or MSc, MA or MSc in clinical psychology, or it also gets a doctorate degree such as PhD or PsyD. Because of this difference in educational background, clinical psychologists who do not have medical studies cannot prescribe drugs to treat behavior disorder. Now, the only difference is that clinical psychologists do not have any educational background in medical studies such as MBBS and all. So that is why they cannot prescribe drugs as the doctors who study MBBS and all. They can prescribe medicine and all, whereas these guys cannot. The clinical psychologists cannot. So, what exactly clinical psychologists do is that they research to find out better ways of diagnosing, treating, and preventing psychological disorders. So, clinical psychology they research and they find out better ways to diagnose, treat, or prevent psychological disorders. They also rely heavy on standardized tests for identifying the cause of these disorders. They also, they do standardized tests. Through that, they identify what are the causes exactly of the disorders a person has. They use psychotherapy to treat mental disorders as they are trained. So they, as clinical psychologists, they, as I told you, psychiatrists also use this, and clinical psychologists also use psychotherapy to treat mental disorders as they are trained. Now, industrial organizational psychology. This is also something you might have heard of, or maybe you might have not. This is a different field. Investigates all aspects. The first point is investigates all aspects of behavior in work settings, ranging from selection and recruitment of employees, performance appraisal, work motivation, and leadership. So this is related to kind of industrial setting, work settings, in which there are employees, and how these psychologists can recruit proper employees and how they can increase their performance, motivate them, and all that, how to increase the efficiency of employees working in the company so that the company can benefit and grow higher. The first application of psychology in industrial and organizational was recruiting employees by using intelligence and aptitude tests. So the first application of psychology which was done to industrial and organizational things was recruiting employees by using intelligence and aptitude tests. So they used the intelligence and aptitude tests to recruit employees. That was the first application which was done to industrial or any organizational setting. They organize on the job training programs for improving work environments and training programs for improving work environments and human relation in organization and work settings. These psychologists are also called personal psychologists. Now, this is important to remember that these psychologists in this field, industrial or organizational psychologists, these are also called personal psychologists. Personnel, not personal. Personnel psychologists. Now, the third point here is they organize on the job training programs for improving work environments. Now, they also organize job training programs to improve work environments, and they also try to improve human relation in organization and work settings. So they can, it's just something which revolves around increasing efficiency of employees and changing work settings. For that, you can do anything for us, such as changing the work settings so that the employees will perform better, their relation with other employees make them better so that they can interact and do the work quickly, more efficiently through teamwork and all that. So this is a field which revolves around industrial or organizational settings. I guess that is it for this video. And with this video, we have completed the whole topic of subfields of psychology. We have discussed each and every subfields of psychology. We have discussed a lot about subfields of psychology. If you want to take a screenshot, you can. I will give you some time. I guess that is it for this video. From the next video, we'll be starting a new topic. Until then, if you want to leave a like, you can leave a like.